So this is what we're making, a simple little ring using the Whitney punch. If you don't have a disc cutter, you could buy a Whitney punch, which is used for sheet metal, and this will cut discs from slightly over 2 millimeters to slightly over 7 millimeters. So it would be handy for doing some bits of jewelry, like pearl setting. Now I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use the punch that is just slightly over 6 millimeters because I have the 6 millimeter half drilled pearl. So this is 6.3. But for what I'm doing, it will be fine because I'll make a pearl cup and I'll cut the end of my wire with it. So I'll show you. So I need to change the size of my punch because this is a 3 millimeter punch that I have in here. So you just unscrew this bit. And then you take this screw out of the handle and you pull that back, and your punch will now come out the top. So then you just slip your other punch in. Put your screw back in. Screw in your piece on the bottom and make sure that these two bits match each other. You do that just by slipping the one into the other and making sure that it's the same size. So now we're ready to punch holes. Now this is 0.7 sterling, and you can see I've done a lot of different things with it. And we'll just slip our piece in. And now we have a disc that actually has a little punch mark right in the middle. So that's kind of cool. Now, I need to dome this or cup it, and if you have a doming block and punches, you would just use that. But I just happen to have a set of dimple pliers, and you can see that it's rounded on this side and dished on this side, and happily our disc fits in there quite nicely. So we'll just center that, and then give it a squeeze. Now, it's not a hemisphere, but it is a cup. So I'm just showing you these things to let you see that there are different ways to do things. Now, I've measured the inside of my ring, and it's 17 millimeters. And the wire I'm using is 1.3 millimeters high. So we'll add that to the 17. Makes it 18.3. times 3.14, and that gives us the exact length, 57.5. And we'll want to deduct the diameter of our disc, which is 6.5. So our ring shank needs to be exactly 50.96 millimeters. So the first thing I'm going to do is saw the end off my ring shank. And then measure . 50.96. It's 97, but that's just 1/100th of a millimeter, so I can't be bothered. So I'll just hook that on the end, drag the other jaw across, and I have a nice scratch that shows me where to cut. And now I'm going to use my Whitney punch to trim the end so that it fits my disc. Now the magic thing about using the punch that I use to cut the disc is when I trim the end of my wire, it will exactly fit that disc. So just make sure you have it nice and centered, because all we're going to do is just nip the end off. And you can see that nice concave, and you can also see that it exactly fits the curve of our disc, our cup. So we'll do the other end. Now I'm going to anneal my ring shank because it was work hardened. So we'll just bring this up to a dull red. Like that. And we'll quench it in water and dry it off. Now I'm just going to hammer this around my ring mandrel, and remember that we'll need to leave a gap, the proper distance for our disc. So just have a look, make sure that it's close to the correct size, and that is my size. So now you can just use your fingers to make sure it fits, and you can actually see that this one is the exact size and it's ready to solder. And I'll hold it just exactly like this on my charcoal block because I want the top, which will be the part that's sitting on the charcoal block, to be flush with the ring shank. So I'm just going to flux where the disc touches the shank, and then I'm going to put a 3 millimeter long piece of hard solder at each spot. So first we'll dry out our flux. Making sure that the solder stays where it's supposed to. And then I'm just going to do one side at a time, focusing my heat on first one side and then the other. Lovely. And the other one flowed too. So now we'll quench this and pickle it. Quench it in water. And you can just have a quick look at your solder and make sure it's lovely. So now we'll pickle it. Now, I haven't pickled this yet, but what I want to do is take my sanding stick and sand the top of the cup before I solder my peg in. Now, it doesn't need a lot, and you can see that now it's tidier. So now I'm going to solder my peg in. Now the wire that I'm using for my pearl peg is 0.8 square, and I just file the end flat, holding it in my fingers. And then I just use my third hand setup. Now this cup has a little depression where when we use the Whitney punch to punch it out, it left a depression, which is great because that shows us where we need to put our wire. Now this is just a 2 millimeter piece of hard solder. And if you're nervous about this, because you can see that I'm just holding the wire on top of the cup, and if I get it too hot, the cup will just fall out. Now, I'm using hard solder. Again, you can use easy solder. That's what I started to say if you're nervous. So we just dry out our flux. And happily the solder has tucked itself against the wire. And I'm just circling because I only want to get the cup and the wire hot enough to melt the solder. So the flux has gone clear. And the solder flowed, and I'm quite happy with that. So now we'll quench it in water and pickle it. All right, we're out of the pickle, and I'm just going to grab my square wire. Give it a twist, and I'm going to cut it to length, which means that we only need about 2 or 3 millimeters of square wire sticking up. Now it's ready for polishing. You could polish it on the wheel, being mindful of the peg, or you could just do like me and put it in a tumbler. Alright, we're out of the tumbler, looking good. And I've got my 6mm half-drilled pearl. We'll check for fit. Lovely. So now it's just a matter of gluing it on. You can use whatever glue you want. I use 5-minute 2-part epoxy. And I use a cocktail toothpick so I can push the glue down in the pearl. And that's it. So I'll hold it in a third hand now and let the glue dry. And I always leave my toothpick in the glue so I can check the glue this way. And that way I don't disturb the glue in the ring. Alright, our glue's set. And we're done. Nice simple little ring.